I think that I'm going to trace it on here, and so, or I'm going to cut this on here, not trace it, but I'm going to trace around my lines. I'm going to really take my time. If you accidentally cut something off, don't worry about it. You can just draw it back correctly. So, I'm going to speed up the video so you can start cutting on your alligator. And we're going to make some more lines and shapes and patterns on this Andy Saczynski inspired alligator. Okay, now that I have it cut out, I'm going to use it as a template. So I'm going to take this, and I could even change my mind if I want to make this a little bit bigger, if I want to make something a little bit different. One thing I do know is when you are cutting out, you want to be very careful of your nostrils and your teeth, that you don't cut them off. And if you do, it's not that big of a deal. So what I'm going to do, inside your art kit, you should have some chalk, and just so I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to use that chalk. Now the chalk smears, so you have to be very careful, and I'm going to take the chalk and I'm going to trace around it. And sometimes people don't like chalk because it hurts their teeth. I don't know why. It's that texture, it's that how it sounds on the piece of paper. Some people don't like that, and guess who doesn't? I don't, but I'm just learning to get over it. So I'm going to hold it down. Make sure that you hold it down so it doesn't move around. I'm going to go around the eyeball, go around its top of its big mouth. I don't think any of you have a big mouth. And then I'll go around the teeth. And then I'm going to move my hand. You got to make sure you use that hand. Make sure that you're drawing big, fat, and chunky. Now, and that's perfect. Now I'm going to lift this up, and now you're going to see, and it's going to look a little bit weird, but you're going to see your chalk design, the outline of it. So now what we have to do is we have to take this, and we need to probably blow some of this. Don't blow it on your sister or brother. And then I'm going to go back over it, and I'm going to, I see that this is a vertical line, so I'm going to make that a vertical line there. I'm going to make my, and I'm actually going to change it and make my leg more like a chicken leg or a turkey leg. And then I'm going to do the same. This is a nice curved line. Make my vertical line and go straight up and down. If you're having any problems at all, just slow down, take a deep breath. I promise you can do it. Now the next step is the eye. You don't want to go straight across yet. And you're going to go around, and you're going to make the eye. And then you're going to make the eye again, or excuse me, the circle again. And then you're going to make another circle for its pupil. Now this is going to be a vertical line, and yes, I could have taken my rectangle and I could have used it as a straight edge. And I think I will do that on this part right here to make a nice straight line. And I'm going to do it again right here. And this is where it starts to all come together. It starts to look a little bit more like a alligator. Okay, blow off all that chalk, and soon we'll be using oil pastels, so you will be covering up some of those ideas. Now, if you want to, you could actually take your white oil pastel and trace over all this and kind of make that not smear anymore. I'm actually going to do that, and it keeps that dust from causing problems. Oil pastels, remember, they are very waxy, and you want to make sure you probably have a paint shirt on. And we're doing an oil pastel instead of paint because you have a little bit more control. When you're using an oil pastel, make sure that you're not pressing too hard because they do tend to break. And we will be using these later on in the year, so you gotta make sure that you take really good care of them. So I'm gonna go over all of my pencil line, my chalk lines, and I'm gonna kind of make them thick. I want to make them thick, but I don't want to make them thin or really close together. And it's actually working out really nicely. I'm very happy the way this is going. And it can be tricky to know what you have traced and what you haven't, and you'll know what you haven't traced is when it smears. And yes, oil pastels smear as well, but the dust from the chalk is a lot different. Now, if for some reason you're not a person who should be using chalk, then just don't use it. Just start off with the oil pastel. Now you probably want to go to a trash can and shake this. I'm just going to shake it on my paper to shake off all that chalk dust. And now I'm going to move on to some lines and designs, and then we're going to start coloring in. So I'm going to make a nice horizontal line there. I'm going to make a vertical line here, and I'm actually going to do 2 of them because I like that nice black line that I will leave when I start coloring it in. I'm going to make a broken line at the top of its spine. And then on mine, I'm going to make a curvy. Uh-oh, look what I did. I make messes. I tend to press too hard. So I'm not going to throw this away. I'm actually going to use it. So it does happen. And I'm glad it happened to me, so you know if it happens to you, it's not that big of a deal. Just try to be very careful. And then what you would do is you just take it, you just try not to take all the paper off, and then you can use that part of it. So I can still use this, just throw that back in your bag and wipe off anything. And don't forget, if you do rub this and you get a line like that, it's not going to matter because we're actually going to be coloring it in. Let's see what else I can do. I think I want to do some more vertical lines right here. And then when we start to color in, it's gonna look amazing. And then what could I do with my feet? And if you accidentally kind of color in your feet and toes, it's not that big of a deal. So now I think I am ready to start coloring. So I'm gonna move this out, and actually don't throw this away because you could actually use this for something else. If you want to do a color like a white version of this and then color it, you can. So now I'm going to start coloring in, and the cool thing about oil pastels is they show up so well on black paper. So I am doing a pattern with red, and then I'm actually going to leave these black spots. Now I'm going to take and place my red there. Sometimes it's a good idea to kind of lay out your colors so you can see what you're doing. And there's blue. And just make sure when you put them back in there that you put them back in there nicely. You also probably have some other shapes in there that is for another project that we're going to do. so you can see all your colors. I'm probably not going to be using any of the neutral colors except the white that I just used and the white that I just broke. And now I'm going to color in here. If you need to turn your page, you can turn it vertical. It might help you. If you feel like you need to get another sheet of paper and kind of cover so you're not smearing so much, you can do that as well. So I kind of like to do that. And then I'm going to move on. You know what? One thing I did forget, I'm going to get my white oil pastel back. And I think I'm going to put another triangle inside of a triangle. And then I'm going to speed things up. And then you can see how this ends up looking after I finish. Ta-da! I like it. So for those who want to use this one, instead of drawing straight onto the black paper and you'd rather color on this, you technically don't have to cut it out, but probably if it's from your sketchbook, it's going to be a bit small. So I'm actually going to take this one and show you. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to trace it. I probably won't color it right now, but I'm going to show you that you can do the exact same thing with this one as you did with the other one. So the next step is, if you chose to do this one, you'd probably want to glue it to that black sheet of paper that you got in your art kit. You're gonna flip it over and you're going to glue it down on there, okay? And so when you do that, you'll wanna flip it over. You might even wanna take it off the black paper so it doesn't get oil pastel on there. Turn it over, and then you're just going to rub all over the place. Make sure that you're staying on the back of your gator and you're not getting it on the paper, like this orange paper. We want to try to stay off of that. And you can put a pretty good amount. I'm gonna put that down. I'm gonna pick this up and I'm going to place it, and be very careful, kind of like hover it above it. And then you're gonna place it where it just fits. And then you're going to not smash it too hard. You're just going to tack it down a little bit. And then if your surface is not clean, you might want to get another piece of paper, because you don't want to get this messy. You're going to flip it over and you're going to rub the back of it. Rub the back of it, and it makes it stick. Okay? So, and if you want to actually flip both of these over, and this keeps you from smearing your oil pastel. You can see it all smearing on this piece of paper, and then it's sticking, and it looks like it's sticking really well. So I'm gonna place that aside. And so now you would take this and glue it again to make this white frame around the edge. So I can actually pretend I'm going to do that so I can actually glue that one down to this paper. But I'm actually going to glue this one if you chose to do the black paper. And I'm going to get all those oil pastel particles off. And then I'm going to flip this one over. And then I'm really going to go around the edge. You'll need to take your glue. If you don't have stick glue, which I do think most of you should have it, I would recommend stick glue. The other type of bottle glue tends to be too wet. So I'm going to set that aside. And then now I'm going to flip it over. It doesn't go on that piece of paper because it's not big enough. And I have to line it up by the corners. You might need some help from your parents. And then take this, place it on top or flip it over. And then I'm going to press it down to make it stick. And we're not finished because we have one more step to do. So you see how I'm taking, you could take an extra piece of paper from your sketchbook. You could take some copy paper. You could take some newspaper. And this is just a real easy way to get it to stick. You just want to be really careful about flipping it over, and now you'll get all your white area really dirty. So you don't want to do that. So you could take it like this and flip it and just rub in the middle. Now turn it over, move this out of the way, and then of course, if you have this one, you don't want to glue it on top of that one, but you would take another sheet of paper that's big enough. I'm pretty sure that I gave you guys a piece of paper to frame it. And then we are going to have to get our name on here somewhere. So you're going to write your name on there. And then we're going to create a border. And so our border can be different on every edge. So I'm going to create a zigzag border along the edge of this side. And so I'm doing it with blue. If you want to use crayons to do this, you can. You could even use markers if you want to change the type of art supply or medium that you're going to use. Now I'm going to flip it. And then I'm going to, you know what, I think I will do kind of a symmetrical, whatever I do on the bottom, I'll do the same on the top. And then I'm going to do zigzag up here too. You don't have to do that if you want to do some different type of line, but it would be great if you use a different type of, you use a variety of lines. I'm holding it down so it doesn't move on me. And I'm making my lines nice and bold, okay, where you can really see them. Okay, now I'm going to do the edges, and I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to use a complementary color, orange, and I'm going to do horizontal lines, but it's facing me, so now they look kind of vertical. Be careful because it does want to curl up the ends of your black paper. Now I'm going to do the same on this side. You got to be careful because it does want to jump on you. And then some last steps you could do if you want to color in. Oops, I got a little bit of red on that one. You could color in, and I'm just going to color in every other one of these, because I want to leave some of that white, because that white really makes the black pop. So you don't want to color the whole thing, because then we should have just used a big piece of black paper. So I'm going to do the same thing, and make sure looks like I'm going kind of fast, that you're really taking your time. And for those people who are not crazy about oil pastels, you'd rather use some other art supplies, you absolutely could. And I'm going to put just one little red line in between every other one, okay? Just to make it look interesting. Same thing on this side. Just a red line. And if you accidentally make a mistake and you meant to do it every other one and you don't, no big deal. We all make messes. Now, of course, I can't take it. I gotta have some yellow in there. It's one of my favorite colors. And I think I'm gonna put it here too. There we go. And then I'm gonna come over here and put it here too. And then I'm liking it a lot. Maybe one more thing. I'm gonna put some dots, but I'm not coloring it in. I'm gonna leave some of that white so that white really makes it pop. Now, if you're doing this project and you do the sketch one day and you cut out one day and you color one day, that's fine. You do not have to complete this project in one day because it is quite an amazing project, and you can see what it looks like. I love it. So now we're quite dirty. You might need to go to the sink and wash your hands, and then you want to make sure that you clean up the area where you washed your hands. You want to make sure that and then you want to be very careful with this because it has a lot of the particles. You probably want to shake it off into the trash can, probably not on your table or your nice kitchen table. I'm gonna go back in. I see some places that I missed. I'm actually gonna go back in and color in that right there. And then I'm super happy. Good job, guys.